A couple months back, we had the OpenAI versus Studio Ghibli situation. That was essentially an AI giant showing its teeth to a much smaller and spiritually allergic to courtrooms studio. At the time, I said what a lot of people were thinking. OpenAI was punching down, picking a fight with a studio that wasn't going to try and return the blow. Fast forward to June, and we're watching the same script but flipped upside down, because now f***ing Disney is duking it out with Midjourney, which for the uninitiated is just an AI image generator that's made headlines on and off for the last few years. That said, Midjourney also has traction, enough to spook some studios, and that's all Disney really needs to feel provoked here. And while I'd love to laugh at the absurdity of it all, there is this gnawing frustration in the back of my brain. Not just with Disney, but with the folks watching this like it's another Marvel trailer. And honestly, I'm kinda guilty of that too. See, these are the same folks who a couple months ago were condemning Disney's tone-deaf statements during the SAG strikes. You know, the same Disney that lobbied to extend copyright terms into geological time periods, but now suddenly they're the brave defenders of creative labor? No, what we're seeing here is just the worst people we know getting into a slap fight. That's it. Midjourney has always carried itself like the kind of startup that doesn't totally understand the size of the fire it's dancing around. You could watch its user base crank out photorealistic Elsa as a samurai renders or Bart Simpson in a Blade Runner reboot, and the platform's response would usually be something like, "Interesting, so what prompt did you use?" And so things finally started getting loud when Midjourney was growing and drawing attention outside of the Reddit thread and ArtStation crowd. It had always operated in this sort of gray zone, but now it was getting good. Too good and too easy to abuse, and way too accessible to people who didn't know or didn't care where the training data came from. And once it started bleeding into the public view, the studios started sniffing around. Disney went for the warning shot first here. They issued a cease and desist in late 2024, which is just lawyer speak for maybe shut down your service before we get spoopy. They accused Midjourney of reproducing their characters without permission. And to be honest, they weren't exactly wrong. You could type in Yoda with an AK-47 and get in 6 styles and 3 lighting setups. But instead of slowing down or even publicly acknowledging the heat, Midjourney did what every overconfident tech company does. They kept shipping features. And folks, I gotta be real, this is where Midjourney strapped on the wax wings because they decided to announce that a video generation service was currently in the works. And you know, still images are one thing, but animation? That is Disney's whole damn blood type. It's the one thing they still get really precious about. It was at this point that NBC Universal joined in on the fun, tossing in their own angry letter and gently reminding Midjourney that it too owned entire swaths of pop culture, including a few franchises with generations of lawyers behind them. Midjourney once again ghosted them. No public comment, no policy update. And so the two studios did the one thing that big media conglomerations do better than telling stories.
What is this? A crossover episode?
In June 2025, Disney and Universal filed a joint lawsuit. It's 110 pages of legal napalm calling Midjourney everything short of an organized crime syndicate. They accused them of laundering protected content through machine learning, calling their business model parasitic, and made it clear that this was not a request. And just to twist the knife, Midjourney went ahead and released the video generator anyways. In beta, less than 2 weeks after the lawsuit was filed. That's not confidence, that's whatever happens after hubris eats a brick. And so here we are today. No ruling, no settlement, Disney wants blood, Universal wants silence, and Midjourney wants to pretend that none of this is actually happening right now. I don't think this lawsuit is really about Midjourney. It's about drawing the line in the sand before Disney's entire castle starts getting deep-faked into oblivion. That cease and desist didn't read like a polite warning to me. It's basically just the sequel of the Mickey Mouse Protection Act, and the playbook is looking pretty familiar too. Lobby for a cause, get people on your side, include Universal, and protect the longevity of your monopoly. Disney has zero interest in setting fair boundaries or figuring out ethical AI. If you believe otherwise, I've got a human popsicle with the initials WD to sell you.
For legal reasons, that's a joke.
This is about power consolidation, plain and simple. They already have the tools internally. Everything from archival voice samples, 3D scans of every actor they've ever cast the last 20 years, and a digital animation pipeline that could be toggled on tomorrow. They've got all that. They're not scared of AI. They're just pissed that someone else is beating them to it with their own IP. Disney has been hemorrhaging from its animation department for years. It's also been tripping over its own live-action remakes and setting money on fire trying to manufacture relevance through nostalgia. This just makes it easier to pivot and justify the internal focus on AI at Disney. The patents they've filed are not even subtle, and you've seen them in action already. Do you remember when Billie Lourd, Carrie Fisher's daughter, reprised her role as Leia Organa? That wasn't a whole new actor. I mean, it was in a way, but look, it was multiple Disney patents working together. The same thing goes for de-aging in cinema. On the surface, this is a sweet and novel thing to do that is highly technical and very impressive. But when we compare that to this other patent that has given rise to these cool little ducky dudes where we can take simple 3D animations and allow an AI to help us suss out balance and corrective measures to make real-world movements more fluid, it starts to look a little bit different. Now, take all of that, combine it with humanoid animatronics, the Disney bread and butter, and what do you have then? Well, you've got a human exoskeleton with movements improved by AI with a system that can place a visual mask over it. You get actors that never get tired, writers that never strike, and voices that never came out of someone's mouth. Just a few engineers and all the training data locked in the vault. And none of that even touches on the patents in 2024 and 2025 focusing on AI for personalization and post-production tasks. They've been building the AI pipeline for literal decades at Disney. So when Midjourney releases a tool that can reanimate Bambi into a gritty cyberpunk reboot without asking permission, that isn't cute to them. That's a threat to the entire fallback strategy for when the theatrical business implodes, and Universal's no different. They're just wearing the same mask in a different font. Let's be honest, licensing isn't the goal here. It's not about making Midjourney play fair. If that were the case, somebody would have given them a call 6 months ago with a contract. What we'll likely see is more aggressive filtration, redacted data, keyword blocks, internal blacklists, not just for Mickey and Star Wars, but for anything that hints at their in-house styles. That includes fan art, parody, tribute pieces, and even anything that just shares the same vibe. And good luck drawing that legal line in the sand with generative models that can hallucinate a Disney face without ever touching a Disney pixel. It's almost like the finger-to-hand problem exists or something. Who would have known? The uncomfortable truth is you can't just patch this with a content filter. You can't make generative art sterile by trimming prompts like you're clipping coupons. If Disney succeeds here, the goal isn't about containment. It's chilling the entire field by making it so legally risky to even approach their orbit that no AI company dares to try. And yes, that means Midjourney was always doomed to be a proxy, a public sacrifice. They don't have the leverage to negotiate licensing here. They don't have the compliance framework to make the studios feel comfortable. They're just the test case used to draft legal precedents that Disney and Universal will be citing 5 years from now when they come after somebody bigger. This isn't about defending art, it's about owning the frameworks propping up the walls. Disney doesn't want AI gone, they want it domesticated, preferably with a cute interface and a monthly subscription. If you're waiting for me to turn this into a redemption arc, I've got some bad news for you. This isn't David versus Goliath, it's Data Miner versus Media Megacorp, and both of them have dirt under their fingernails today. Hey guys, editing Ellie stepping in real quick. There's been some updates during the process of making this video, so I want to condense some quick facts here. Midjourney doesn't get to walk out of this looking clean. They've built a platform on a dataset they barely talk about, or rather, they take extensive care to not mention entirely. For a while, many researchers have believed Midjourney uses Lion, an upstream data supplier that had to do a major course correction last year after cleaning up their database from some egregious content. Lion then advised all downstream consumers to update to the corrected database, but without Midjourney making any definitive statement on what datasets were used, many still believe they're using the old Lion dataset, not the redacted one. The reality is this was not the first problem for Midjourney, because in 2024, a case called Anderson v. Stability AI had come out where a number of Californian artists went up against Midjourney, Stability, and a few others. So even before all of this Disney junk, the group was in some pretty hot water. And all of that is being complicated right now by an entirely unrelated case of Bart's v. Anthropic. Alright, unrelated might be a bit of a stretch, but basically, a federal court decided in this particular case that AI, under certain circumstances, is transformative, and that's only going to make things messier for Disney. Meanwhile, Disney's just being Disney, surgical in its public statements, brutal in its legal filings, disingenuous in its messaging. They don't care about stolen art, they just care about stolen control. If 100 illustrators lose their work in the crossfire, it's not their problem. If AI is banned today and quietly reintegrated into their pipeline tomorrow, also not their problem. They've been gutting creative departments for a decade and outsourcing half of their animation pipelines while patting themselves on the back for preserving tradition. And you know, you, the viewer, the artist, the modder or fan animator, none of you get a seat at this table. You're just the product everybody's quietly training on. There is no winner here. Just a precedent being set in real time by two groups that shouldn't be trusted with one. And yes, we're going to cover the hell out of the result because like any good train wreck, I'm not just gonna look away. And on that note, I think that's going to be it for me today, folks. Join me next time where I show you how to yuck the system. Oh, there's no way I'm keeping that in. You better cut that the fuck out. See you, nerds.